some upcoming releases because our TBR piles are so short at the moment, right? Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video, I just wanted to go over some, upcoming newish releases in the theme of environmental kind of nature writing. I might do a separate video specifically on zoology and botany and stuff, where it's more specific on individual species or types or groups of animals and plants and stuff, just because there's plenty of those as well. So this one was trying to be more just generic, nature writing, or more like ecology type books or something like that, dealing with ecosystems as a whole. I know that was a super long intro. I think I did a poll asking, if upcoming releases and recent releases were videos that people enjoyed watching, and it was 90+% or something like that. So I'll definitely keep going on these. Plus, it kind of helps me plan out. I do it anyways when I'm planning out what books to go ahead and read, in the coming months and stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and get started before I ramble on forever and ever. Might as well start with the most recent one coming out, which is I think later this week on October 15th. Did I say October 15th? I think October 25th, and it is Wild New World: The Epic Story of Animals and People in America by Dan Flores. And the reason I selected this one, it looks really cool. There's a big I guess it's not so much as an argument anymore. The general consensus seems to be tilting towards when the indigenous peoples who crossed over the Bering land bridge into the Americas 12,000 years ago, or can't remember exactly off the top of my head what exactly the most recent estimate is. A lot of the large megafauna, like mammoths, giant ground sloths, things like that, sort of died off, and it's likely due to hunting pressures of our ancestors and whatnot. But there's also some evidence to say they were already on the way out, and humans just pushed them over the cliff, literally and metaphorically, I guess, in the case of mammoths. But yeah, it just looks really interesting. Dan Flores is an author I've read before with his Coyote America, which I read last year, and that was an excellent, super 5-star read. Definitely, it was I think it was in one of my top, definitely one of my top 5 nature books for the year. Just really, really good on coyotes in the United States and how historically we dealt with them. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I know it's going to be really good, just based on just the previous work by the authors. So definitely check that one out if Pleistocene animals is something that you're interested in learning about. I know I gotta have my notebook because these subtitles, as you can see, these are 4 books right here. It's a whole paragraph just based on just the subtitles here. Next up, what's the next most recent one? We got Returning the Self to Nature, Undoing Our Collective Narcissism and Healing Our Planet by Janine Canty on November 1st. And this one looked interesting to me because a big theme of the book is eco-psychology, which is not a subject I've really, read hardly anything dedicated on. It's usually touched upon in a lot of books, but this whole book, the premise is sort of how there's a vicious circle between people in modern developed countries essentially becoming individualistic and narcissistic and treating nature badly, and how both of them sort of feed into each other, which it just sounded like a really on the just on the head good topic to write about, because I think it really does. After I started thinking about it, at first I was and that seems kind of a stretch, but really thinking about it, I'm not quite so sure. So I definitely would want to read a lot more about it for sure. It just sounds really interesting. In I said, the eco-psychology front, I've just never read anything or studied anything particularly on that. One of the major synopsis points of the book also dealt with something that I think just sounded really good, and it's about how once you learn to have a good relationship, a good healthy relationship with yourself, it kind of transfers to your local community as you strengthen that skill, and then from the community to the global level. And if everyone is starting to do this, it just will expand and help nature heal itself and help us heal through nature and whatnot. Just sounds like a really good premise, and something I kind of wish was just everyone was like kind of following it anyways and everything. So definitely will be one I'm picking up, and I'm hoping it pans out to be a good read for sure. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the bookish content and whatnot. If you want to support the channel, you can obviously like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of cool stuff. I don't know, what should we comment about? Let me know what the book you're most looking forward to reading in that hasn't been released yet. Definitely want to check everyone's comments out. But if you want to support the channel, the best way is probably to check out my Etsy shop, where I sell signs like this. I had to get out another Thoreau one for a nature release video, but where I do stuff, sell stuff like that, philosophy, some history stuff, things like that. But even just liking some items or the favoriting the shop, whatever, it definitely helps me out in this algorithm. So let's just keep going on. Next up is one that's kind of a blending of kind of environmental writing with history writing, and it's Silent Spring Revolution, JFK, Rachel Carson, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, and the Great Environmental Awakening by Douglas Brinkley. November 15th, 2022 is when it comes out. And obviously from the title, it's all about sort of the long 1960s and sort of just the entire environmental movement kind of going on from there. I've read Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, really good. I've read some of her other works as well. But there are a lot of other sort of different, not necessarily even just climate activists during that time, but there's a lot of civil rights things going on, a lot of labor organizers kind of doing things, and there was sort of an undercurrent, with for example, Save the Whales, Earth Day. I think the first Earth Day was I can't remember if it was 1970 or 1972. Things like that. There's a lot of green movement sort of going on during this time period, and I don't know a lot about a lot of these other figures in the other genre. As you can tell, there's some of them right here. I read a lot of history as well as nature writing, so I think it's going to be a really good blend of a topic that I really should know a lot more about, but I don't. So I'm glad the author is, just filling in this blank for me. And I think this one's going to end up being really cool, kind of a good American history, but also, the important figures, and the undercurrents that helped kind of launch, the green, the proto-green movement from the 1960s and 70s. So I think that'll be really cool. And then one more kind of recent or upcoming release, and it's The Darkness Manifesto on Light Pollution, Night Ecology, and the Ancient Rhythms That Sustain Life by John Eckloff. And this comes out in February 14th, which I think was on Valentine's Day, 2023. This is a subject that I'm really interested in because, where I live in the middle of basically nowhere, I don't have that much light pollution. It's kind of interesting when friends come over for bonfires and whatnot, and they can see a bazillion a bazillion stars in the sky, and even if they're not that far away, but they live in the nearest city, even just a little bit of light pollution definitely blocks out just a lot of the just the natural starlight and the moonlight and stuff that you can just see in the sky. So I think it is kind of an interesting topic. And I want to see different perspectives, because I did grow up in a city, but at the time, I wasn't into natural history, anything like that. But even, obviously when I'm traveling or visiting other people, whatever, there is a big difference between, just the city haze thing kind of going on, where even, you're a mile out of the city, but you still have just kind of that residual glow effect or whatever, and that definitely blocks out a lot of the the natural starlight and stuff that you can see. However, this book deals with both the human effect, staying up later is really not good for our health and stuff. Our circadian rhythms get all wonky and everything like that. But also from the ecological, animal and flora and fauna perspective, insects have a really, really, really hard time with all the lights that we use. Obviously, the classic one is the moths flying around, different lights and stuff, not really sure where they're going because they're disoriented, because they basically think the street lamp is the moon, for example. But also kind of, branching out from that, things like animals that feed on these insects, like bats and stuff, sometimes they go hungry essentially because not enough insects are actually making their way out and about, and they're just hard to find and whatnot. I know, for example, turtles. I read Carl Safina's Voyage of the Sea Turtle. a lot of turtles get really disoriented with too much like afterglow, or I guess not afterglow, just glowing lights, on beachfronts and whatnot. Like when they hatch and they kind of go away from the water and they go towards the light, because when they hatch, normally they would go towards light, which would be reflecting off the water and whatnot. So there's a lot of animals that just get totally disoriented, totally affected by just like city night lights. And I guess it's not always just cities too. I'm sure there's like other examples of light pollution. But just the fact that we even have like I guess they're not like national parks, but they're just like reserves that are like permanently just like a thing, because they just have natural, like good clear night sky from the absence of light pollution. It's just a weird concept that you have to have things like this in this day and age. So definitely hoping to learn a lot. I think this will be a good blend of kind of physical science with the biological sciences, and I hope it pans out. So there you have it. Those are 4 upcoming releases on environmental topics in the next couple of months that I won't say definitely, but I will really be trying to make sure that I get to at some point in the near future. Let me know what you think about these titles down below, and whether you're going to read any of these or not. Always remember, read victoriously.